Hey Becky, I see you're watching. Hey, let me know real quick. Send me an email. Let me know if this aspect ratio is okay. Or give me a little message. I'm trying to get everything pulled up on my computer because my internet's back up. I'm so happy. All right. Hey Monique, good to see you here. I'm getting everything set up so that I can see what's going on. I've got 2 monitors today. So let's see what we got. Let's see. Let's see what we got going if we are seeing this garage school live. Oh, I think I'm doing it. Hey Terrence. All right, we're working out these technicals here. I'm making my screen bigger on my computer. Hopefully I can see all of your comments today. Oh, you like my nails. Thank you, Becky. Okay. All right, I changed the aspect ratio, so I see it might be cutting my head off a little bit. Not quite sure. You guys let me know what's what. But I think we're in really good shape to get started with garage school today. Are y'all ready? It's 12:30 and we are ready for garage school. Okay, so I've got a fantastic new set of information to share with you today. As you can see, I've pulled out some little friends today. I've pulled out my jigsaws and my circular saws today. Anybody have circular saws and jigsaws? Give me some hand waves. Oh, thank you, Monique, for letting me know I'm perfectly framed. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, so we're going to talk about saws today. Now, I've broken saws down into 2 separate categories, just for you. All right? The 2 separate categories that I've broken saws down into are handheld saws, like these, okay? And stationary saws, which I do not have pulled into the frame right now. I'm going to talk about only handheld saws today and some basic safeties to get us started with handheld saws. Okay? You guys ready? All right. So one of the first things I want to talk about with the handheld saws is that you're going to need certain PPE or personal protective equipment. Write that down, put it in your notes, store it in your brain, because you all know on Fridays I'm coming with some type of assessment to see if you remember what we were talking about. Okay, so we've got PPE, personal protective equipment. Now this is extremely important because when you're working with power tools, you want to make sure that you're doing everything you can to come out with all of your fingers, your eyes, and your respiratory system protected. Those are like the first levels of what you want to protect. You want to make sure that you're protecting your feet. So first things first, I always make sure that the first thing I protect is my eyes. So you will always see me wearing my safety goggles when I'm working with my saws. I'm not turning saws on today, so I'm gonna just keep my safety goggles up here. But I have many types of safety goggles depending on what type of project that I'm working on. So I have safety goggles that are colored if I'm gonna be working outdoors and I don't want the glare. I also have safety goggles that are wraparounds, all right? If I'm gonna be working with my chainsaws so that I don't get debris up in them because they provide a different level of protection. See how I have this on? It's a full mask coverage. It covers the sides so it keeps debris from coming in here. All right? So you want to make sure that you're wearing your safety goggles first and foremost of anything. Put your safety goggles on. All right? The second thing that I always make sure that I do when I'm working with power equipment is I make sure I have on some type of closed toe boots. Now these are my steel toe Timberland boots. You see, cranberry red Timberlands with paint all over them. I actually love them more like this. All right, so thank you, big ups to Tim's for making these boots because they really keep my feet protected and they're comfortable. Make sure you're getting comfortable work boots. All right, so you want to have the steel toe in your work boots or a hard toe. You do not want to work barefooted. You do not want to work with open toe shoes, and you really don't want to work with mesh style shoes like sneakers, because they don't provide the protection in the event that you drop something, okay? Thumbs up. What are we gonna wear? Give me some type-ins. Tell me what you're gonna wear. 3 things you're gonna wear when you're protecting yourself. 3 things. I want to see 3 things that you're going to use to protect yourself. All right, I see my thumbs up. Okay, number 1, we're going to wear our safety goggles or some type of eye protection when we're working with our saws. Number 2, we're going to wear some type of boots. And number 3, if it's called for, depending on what you are working with, you want to protect your face and your nose. So these little masks that everybody's running around with for the coronavirus, these are great protective masks, because when you're working with wood specifically, and I will talk about different other building materials later, specifically wood, when it's cut, it has fine sawdust particles. And the sawdust particles may have an allergen or an allergy, what do you call it? An allergic reaction for the person that's not wearing a mask. Depending on what type of tree it is, some people are allergic to different trees. If it's pine, birch, oak, cedar, spruce, people are allergic to different types of trees. So an allergen mask is a beautiful thing to wear because it's going to protect your lungs. So if you do have the ability to wear a safety mask, wear it, especially if you don't have some type of vacuum system that's sucking the sawdust out of the air. As a second alternative to wearing a safety mask, if you simply have a cloth that you can use to fold over and you can wrap your face, that also helps to protect your face from getting the sawdust in your nose. All right? Now, I just pulled out this little headscarf. Big ups to my friends at Duluth Trading Company. You know what? As I was getting dressed this morning, I felt like being a Duluth girl. So everything I have on today, from the top to the bottom, is Duluth. Thank you, Duluth. I really appreciate you for making sure that I have wonderful clothing to wear and that I'm safe too while I'm doing it. All right, so here's another thing you want to make sure of. So we talked about the safety goggles or glasses. We talked about the boots. We talked about protecting your respiratory system by putting on some type of mask or scarf depending on the material that you're using. But another thing you want to do is you want to make sure that your clothing protects you so that you're not having clothing that's loose on you. Loose clothing can get caught and stuck inside of your tools. You do not want that. You want to have sleeves. If you have on a sleeve, you want to make sure it's a nice tight fitting sleeve. All right, and you don't want to have your clothing loose because that can definitely get caught up in a power tool and it can pull your body in before you know it. All right, so those are a few quick safety tips when it comes to what you want to wear when you are working with power tools. Now that took a whole 6 minutes to go over, and there's so much more personal protective equipment out there. We're not going to talk about everything today, but I wanted to give you some of the things that are just the basics. I'm seeing a lot of hellos out there. I'm not going to call everybody's name today, but I do see you. Thank you for joining in. I really, really, really appreciate everybody being here. Okay, so without further ado, now that we've talked about our personal protective equipment, there are certain pieces of personal protective equipment that you can wear for one type of construction job, but not necessarily another type of construction job. Why is that? Well, because certain pieces of protective equipment can get caught into the moving components of your tools. All right. So a lot of times you'll see people with different types of gloves, depending on what they're using them for, okay? There are gloves that are gonna protect you from paint. There's gloves that's gonna protect you from heat. There's gloves that are gonna protect you from splinters and sawdust. There's lots and lots of different types of gloves. I'm not talking about all the types of gloves today, just needing you to know that they exist because you're gonna wanna protect your hands. So for instance, you're going to want to wear some type of protective glove when you are working with a chainsaw. This is my preferred glove when I'm working with my chainsaw because it has a nice tight fit. All right? But I do not wear a glove like this when I'm working with a circular saw. And here goes our lesson for today. Power tools, specifically powered saws. All right? I pulled out 2 types of powered saws today. but there's a much longer list. So I'm going to go over safeties with just 2 different types of power saws today. I'm going to go over the circular saw, and I'm going to go over the jigsaw today. 2 saws that are pretty affordable, and they're saws that a lot of people like to have in their workstations because they do an array of, that's a new word. No, they do an array of different jobs. So you want to have more than one saw because you're going to have different types of jobs that you do. All right, so each different type of saw actually has moving parts. And there's a couple things that you need to know so that you can be safe when operating a saw with moving parts. Number 1, the blade. On the jigsaw, this is the blade. Now, the jigsaw has many different types of blades depending on what type of material it's cutting. As you can see, the blades on this one are pretty far apart. There are some that are much finer or much closer together blades. The further apart the blade it is, it lets you know that it's going to cut materials such as wood, okay? If it's got a finer or closer together tooth blade, it's going to cut metal. So you're wanting to make sure that you have the right blade for this type of saw. All right? Now, the jigsaw has several different adjustments on it. Now, here's the thing. Jigsaws have evolved just like other types of tools. This actually was my first jigsaw. I still have it. Now, here's the thing. This one's got an electric cord on it. All right? And this one is a battery actuated one. All right? They've got a lot of similarities, but yet and still there's a lot of differences. I'm going to move my shoes off of the table so I can have some more room. All right, so you see I have a similar style blade that's for cutting wood on this jigsaw. But if you look at the front of it, you see that little screw right there? It used to be that in order to hold the blade in, you had to use a screw. Now that technology has been improved upon, and so now, instead of having to use a screw, there is a lever mechanism here on my new jigsaw that allows me to take the blade in and out pretty easily. It's like a quick clutch type of mechanism that allows for the blade to come out easier. Now, if you'll take a look here, looking at the top of the blade, not all of the tops of the blades are created equal. So you're going to want to make sure that you're using the right type of blade as the manufacturer suggests for the type of jigsaw that you purchase. So I've removed this blade. I'm going to leave it out because there's some other safeties that I want you to know about on the jigsaw. So when you're using your jigsaw and you're putting your blade in and out, you're going to want to make sure that it actually closes all the way. If you have this type of octane jigsaw that's by rigid, it pulls from left to right and closes up, okay? Now this particular jigsaw has 3 different speeds on it. And here are the speed variations. Well, the speed variations are going to be depending on what type of material that you're cutting. If you're cutting wood, you want it to be at a faster pace. Metal, not so fast because metal heats up. And maybe somewhere in the middle if you're cutting some type of cement fiberboard, okay? Because there are different materials that you're going to cut, and you're going to want to vary the speed depending on what type of material that you cut. So there's an adjustment right there for adjusting the speed. Now I'm going to put a battery in this saw so that you can hear the speed adjustment as it goes. Give me a second to get a battery. And I told you all, I love having my rigid tools because I can interchange batteries, and it means a lot to me to be able to just have one battery type to go in and out of all of my tools. I've taken the blade out, so I'm going to turn on the saw. I'm just wrong right now. Let me put my safety goggles on. Even though I'm operating it without a blade in it, I prefer having my safety goggles now just because safety is first. So now you can see that there is a part that goes up and down that reciprocates. I'm pulling it slowly because that's what happens when you're using a jigsaw. You just have the saw blade that is going up and down. That's all that's happening with a jigsaw blade. Up and down, up and down, up and down. All right? All right? That's speed number 1, speed number 2, and speed number 3. They sound pretty close to the same, but there's some minor variations in how fast it's going. All right, the next thing I want you all to know about is that you have the ability to tilt the base or the platform of your jigsaw, and you're able to slide it and do what we call mitering the corners. All right, so for this one, I'm gonna open up the lever here, and that's gonna allow for me to turn the bottom and wiggle it. All right, see, there we go. You see how I flipped it over? Flipping it back and flipping it forth. That allows me to do what you call a miter. I'm gonna put the blade back in just so that you can see how significant the angle is when you go to miter your blade or miter your work. Everybody, I'm still trying to overcome this old broken finger of mine. It's not that easy when I'm performing certain tasks. All right, I've got my blade in. I'm gonna open up and I'm going to adjust for the miter. Now can you see it a little bit better? So depending on what I'm cutting, the blade is gonna be to the right, to the middle, or to the left. Different blade positions for different techniques. So that's definitely one of those things that I want you to know that occurs. Now, a lot of people when using a jigsaw are attempting to make a pretty straight cut. Here's the thing with the jigsaw. Let me get this to turn the right way. Give me a second to get it to turn. How did I get it stuck? I don't know. Why is it sticking open? Okay, so you know what I'm gonna do? So I don't delay your lesson, put this one aside. And I think I have another one back behind me that I can grab. Oh, it's not behind me. I guess I'll have to pull this one back out. Okay, oh, I just learned something new on this one. If you pull it up, it'll slide into lock in place. I did not know that. Oh, look at this. Okay, on the back, you see that there, can you see those? There's some numbers back there. Let me see if I move the battery. Maybe you can see it a little bit better. You see those numbers back there? So you can pull it in, push it out to be able to go to 45, push it out to be able to lock it in, go to 90, and you can go in between. So I had it stuck at the 90-degree point. So I'm gonna stick it here at 90 degrees, and I'm gonna lock this saw into place. Now, jigsaw is a very, very useful saw if you're cutting materials that are 1/4 of an inch or thinner. 3/4 of an inch or thinner. So 3/4 of an inch looks like this thick, all right? And if you're cutting materials that are plywood of some sort, 3/4 of an inch or thinner, then the jigsaw is a really wonderful tool to use. Now, yes, you can cut larger, but for me, I don't prefer to cut larger with a jigsaw, all right? So another cool thing about the jigsaw, it also has a little notch right here. There are actually bars or pieces of metal that you can put in that you're able to lock into place, and you're able to lock in your guide so that you can determine how far away from the blade you want to cut. How about that? How's that for some good information? All right, so those are just a couple of basics about the jigsaw. You have the blade, variable speed, you have the ability to miter your cut, and you have this one, which is battery operated. Also with your jigsaw, there's typically some type of point or line in it, and that's gonna let you know where your line is that you're cutting. We'll go over some actual cutting techniques with the jigsaw a little bit later. The next type of portable saw that I'm going to discuss with you today is my absolute favorite. I don't know. Yeah, my favorite portable saw is going to be the circle saw. Now, I use the circle saw probably third most out of all of the tools that I use. This is the third most saw that I use. My first saw that I really love is a table saw. My second saw that I use is a miter saw, and this is my third most used saw is going to be a circular saw. This saw is used heavily in residential construction. It's used in frame up. It's used to cut plywood. It's used to cut boards. And this is a very, very useful saw. Once again, there are different adjustments on this type of saw. All right. One of the adjustments is to be able to tilt the base of it. So here we open it up and we're able to tilt the base. See that? See how I'm able to tilt the base of the saw? All right. Because if you want a miter, you're able to move your saw blade so that you can cut through and you can miter. I'll show you the miter at a different time. So that's one adjustment on your saw. The next adjustment that I want to show you on the saw is the ability to decide how much of the blade do you want to expose. So there's a lever right here that I'm going to open up, and then I'm going to pull down on the part that rides along the table. See that? Or rides along. So you're able to decide how much of your blade do you want to expose. So right now I'm only exposing a little bit of the blade. I'm going to lock it back into place. And I want to show you something. When you're working with any type of saw that has any protection guard on it, one of the things you always want to check is you want to always check to see that the protection or the guards bounce back into place. If you have a saw that has a guard on it and it does not bounce back into place, it could be that there is a defect. It could be that someone adjusted it to keep it out of the way. It could be that it has broken on you. So you want to make sure that this is always available to bounce back and to recoil, because this is a safety fence. It keeps you protected when you're cutting a job. So I want you to make sure that you're always checking to see that the safety fence is actually working properly before you begin any job. Even if you just put the tool in your toolbox for a year, it could seize up. If you have someone else using your tools, they could have modified or adjusted it. So make sure that you're being mindful and that you're checking to see that this is actually working and working properly. Because if it's not working properly, it can cause damage to you that you do not want to have, when you can simply check to make sure that it's working properly. If it's not working properly, take it to a repair technician if you're not able to repair it for yourself, or get a new one, okay? There have been many tools that I have put in the recycle file because they simply don't work properly. And I'd rather work with a tool that is going to be safe than to risk myself, my health, with a tool that is not going to work properly, okay? You see how cute I like to paint my fingernails? These are my Easter fingers, everybody. Okay, I don't know if we're gonna have Easter this year, but these are my Easter fingernails. And I plan on keeping my Easter fingernails and my Easter fingers on. So when you're using your miter saw, specifically one that is a battery actuated miter saw, there are a couple of safeties that are built in. So I'm gonna put the battery in, lock it in. I'll move these things out of the way. All right, so there's a handle here that's going to help you to be able to guide your cut. You have a little notch right there that tells you, oopsie, let me see it, that looks like it's got a little triangle. That's where you're going to move your blade for 45 degrees. And there's another notch there if you're going to make a straight cut. So that lets you know where to line up your wood or whatever building material that you're working on. All right, so now when you are doing cuts, there's a couple of important things to know when you're using a battery actuated saw. You can pull the trigger all you want, and I'm going to move my hand up here for safety purposes. Pull the trigger all you want, it is not going to engage until you push down, because this is a safety mechanism. Where my goggles going? Give me some goggles on, okay? You want to push down on the unlock, and you're able, you see that? Then you're able to engage the blade. So for those of you that have gotten some type of battery actuated saw and you start to push the button and you say it won't work, well, there is a braking system here that unless you're pulling it down on either the right side or the left side, they work equally. it's not going to start up. It's not going to engage. All right. This one also has a light on it, which I absolutely love. All right. So now you see that those are some quick and simple things that you can know about in order to work with your saws. Today we've gone over 2 different types of saws. We've gone over some of the safeties of what you want to wear and not wear when you're working with a saw. And what else have we done? We've talked about battery saws, we've talked about corded saws, and we're specifically talking about saws that are portable today. So can you guys type in the comments? I hope that I'm able to see them pretty fast. What are the 2 types of saws that we talked about today? This one and this one. I'm gonna wait for some answers. I hope I can see them. I really, really, really hope I can see them. Saw number 1. Yes, that's absolutely right. This is a jigsaw. La 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 la. I'm so proud of you. This is a jigsaw. Awesome. And the next one, this one is a, you got it. It's a circle saw. All right. All right. I see I've got some questions on my question bar that I will answer like after I get done with the live feed today, okay? All right. I see you, Rob. I see you asking questions. All right. So now, does anybody have any questions today specific to the jigsaw and the circle saw? If so, go in and type them in the comments and I will answer them after class is over. Boy, do you know how fast garage school goes by? We've already been on for like close to 30 minutes. I am so enjoying you guys coming into garage school with me. So do me a favor, make sure that every day, if you're enjoying what I'm doing, you are liking it, subscribing, and you're sharing with your friends. Also, I'm going to be posting these on my Girly Shop Teacher website. You're going to find more information about me on Twitter. I love doing TikTok videos. Haven't done one in a couple days, but I'm going to have to do another one soon. And you can find me on Instagram under Girly Shop Teacher. So like, subscribe, share, let everybody know that at 12:30 daily, weekdays that is, Central Standard Time, I'm putting on Garage School because it's important for me that I'm passing on the knowledge for the next generation to be empowered when it comes to building trades. Thank you for joining me. I'll see you next time. Where? On Garage